This field right out here by the road, looks like they've done most of it. But this farm goes way back in here. Now, a lot of the roads that they have back through fields, they just let this fescue grow on them, and most of the time they stay solid all winter because they haven't been plowed or anything for years and years and years. But here there was some ruts they've had to make. They'll come in and repair this over the winter. So just like corn, we have to fuel up first thing in the morning. Now they haul their soybeans all the way to Mount Vernon, Indiana, at least the owner's share, and that's where this load's going. Truck driver says it's probably 58 miles from here, one way. That's a long way to be hauling from the field. You can get away with that with soybeans though, because you don't have near the yield, and so you don't have to get them away from the combine quite as rapidly. Corn has a lot better yield, fills up the hopper quicker on the combine, things like that. So what they often do on soybeans is they haul the owner's share to the elevator, and the tenant's share, the farmer's share, they often put in a grain bin. That's what we're doing here. I think Terry said he had about 35,000 pounds on the grain cart there. So it's not a full load, but it's the end of a field. So they've got to haul that by itself to the elevator. It's not too bad of a load though, so it's still worth the trip. So he's trying to get the auto-steer set up here, and he's just at the beginning part of the field here. Now, do you have to tell it for this first pass, or is it just know from what are you doing here?
Well, you had options up there. You could take where they planted corn, or a year before where they planted the beans. And I selected this one. It looks like it's working about right here on my header.
Okay.
I'll have to kick that on now and I go around the ends. There's no lines around there for us to drive on.
Okay. During corn, we were talking about how the edge of the field doesn't yield very good for corn. Well, it's even more obvious in beans, isn't it? Because you can tell there just really aren't many beans right here on the edge.
The roots of the trees come out and suck all the moisture away from the edge of the field here.
So a tree causes you trouble even when it's just being close to your field, doesn't it?
Yes.
So it's yield issue. Now you see all those weeds there. That's in the little ditches and low areas where they don't put any chemical. And they do that so that those ditches won't erode. But that also shows you a little bit what the field would be like if they didn't use any herbicides. Really just wouldn't be able to grow anything. Boy, this wide header really allows you to keep the combine away from the brush when you're going around the field.
Yeah, it helps a lot.
It's always been a big challenge with those tree limbs hanging out. With that wider header, it kind of reaches out there under them. Now, the Little Wabash River is right over the hill there, and I think
right down there you can see the trees.
See the water, maybe. But even though we're that close to the river, this isn't bottomland. It's probably a 35 or 40 foot, I don't know, 30 foot drop there anyway into the river. A bluff, we would call it. I don't know if that's a standard term or if that's just a country slang term. It's fascinating because there's several miles of river bottoms on the other side of the river. The river's right next to this side of the hills, isn't it?
Yes. There's a couple of fields we farm down there right next to the river on the other side.
Yeah, even probably some part of the same of this field, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. It's the same property.
Same.
And, but it's down level with the river more, so when we have a big rain, it gets underwater.
And it's what we call inside the levee. There's a levee that protects a lot of the bottom land, but this is so close to the river that it's inside. But you guys still plant it, and a lot of years you get a decent crop off of it.
We did this year.
Usually you try to plant it about last, don't you?
Yeah.
Because there's oftentimes there's a late season. Whoops, what's going on?
Oh, my guidance took over.
It was going to steer us off into the woods there, wasn't it? You can see the soybeans coming into the hopper here. So how big is this little field back here?
Oh, 10 or 12 acres, something like that. model there. Steering on, yeah, okay. Punch that button, that give it a chance to find itself. You don't have to steer, just let it steer. Punch the button again. When you punch that button, when you steered, you towed it off.
Oh, okay. So you can't steer.
We got a new driver here, kind of breaking in this afternoon.
Boy, it's not wanting to go down over there, is it?
Punch that, this button here, down. I've got a spring broke over there. Lets it raise up sometimes.
It's hard for me not to want to steer. I think I can do better, you know? And I assume you go a little over 3, 4?
4 mile an hour about what I drive a lot of the time.
Okay. For the viewer, it's a hydrostatic drive. This lever right here, you push it forward to go forward, forward more to go faster, just like the foot pedal on little tractors. Right there's the speed.
Have you ever drove it with the steering on?
I have not. In fact, this is the first time I have driven the 40-foot header. I'm never here during soybeans because you get them done so quick. Usually, by the time I get here, you're on corn. And last year we got to do that one round. I think we did a video of. It's fascinating how much stuff is automated here. That header height is all automated. The steering's automated. Whoops. I don't know my up from my down.
Now punch your button and probably find it.
Okay, so I don't even have to. Wow. You just get it somewhere in the neighborhood and it takes care of it, doesn't it?
It does a pretty good job steering by itself. It just cuts full forward all the time.
You said it's like 38 feet or something, right?
It's 38 3/4 feet.
And that sure looks
The
like
header
it.
actually cut 40. We have to allow a little bit on each end there. In case we do look over a little bit.
Yeah, or if the beans are leaning or something. But that looks like it's almost perfect. There's about 1.5 feet or a foot or so over there.
Yeah, that'd be 18 inches if you divide it in two. You get 9 inches for each side. That's better than I can drive, especially after I get those tires.
Well, it's not easy. It's way out there. It's 20 feet out there to try to make sure you're right on the edge. Boy, this removes a lot of the fatigue factor. It's also a little bit hard to see because of the way the windows are made. And
It's hard to see that outside in.
wow, it does a great job of finding that track again.
Anytime this A is green up here, it's in Auto-Steer.
Okay. And that's saying that the yield right here is 70 bushels, 66, 64.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know if I've ever seen that. 75 it just says. So you're already pressing it along about here. Seems like the right end has a tendency to stay up a little
Need
bit.
to get that spring fixed.
So the average on this field is 53 bushels, and that's even with what you saw when we were driving around, folks. You saw around the outside edge, they weren't very good. So there's some really good beans right out here in the middle, aren't there? And we're talking about that, Dad. Around here, I mean, we don't have the prime soil. What is a good yield for beans?
Well, 50 is a pretty good yield for this light soil we have. So we got a pretty good crop this time. Oop, you missed it. Now you're in.
Just in time.
Had room for it to turn anyhow.
I couldn't bear to let go of it. It was doing the right thing, and I just couldn't let go of it. Folks, it isn't natural to, when it's not doing what you want, to let go of the steering wheel.
Used to be an Indian camp right on this little corner here on this hill.
The soil was all real black and dark, like it had been all kinds of...
That's where their campfires were probably. They have found some Indian arrowheads and maybe a hatchet or hammer made out of stone back here on this hillside. You're gonna try manual spraying.
Yeah, see the old-fashioned way. It's not easy. It's a long way out there. It's easy to leave 2 or 3 feet.
Doing a pretty good job, Dave. Well, he just made it. He got 51 bushel average.
Okay.
Tested 1445 moisture. Well, got this field done and the monitor says 9.43 acres.
Okay.
481 bushel, 310.
Okay.
Now we'll have to go up and take the header off to get through the gap up here.
Oh, okay. There's not enough room to get this big head through there.
No, I dug out a tree with the backhoe. Still didn't make enough room, so
I'd have to bring Johnny down, help you.
yeah, you will. Need little Johnny down here to dig out some more.
Yeah, I'm afraid if I see these trees, I may have second thoughts about that. I may think Johnny might not be quite up to the task. I want to go fast. No time for this,
Well,
slow poking around.
Gotta mow slow.
Oh, okay. Well, this is one of my favorite spots right up here, Dad. One of my best bragging memories. Nobody will believe this story anyway, so. Tom had his big semi-truck stuck up there. Were you back here?
Yeah, I was.
You actually
We were
saw
down this little slope here over on that grassy road there, and it's so slick, kind of wet. And, the truck tractor couldn't pull it up the hill. Tim got behind it and pushed it by hand and pushed it on up the hill.
A loaded
Now-
semi-tractor.
Now that
Trailer.
sounds a little far-fetched, don't it?
But it was true. I thought it was crazy too. I was just being a goofball. Now you see those black holders there. A certain part of the bracelet of the combine head needs to go on that. That's about all I know about it. Those 2 levers. Drive shaft. Looks like it has a little holder to go up in. I mentioned on the corn head that the soybean head had more connectors on it. Sure enough, it's got all 6 spots filled up. 1 electronic and 5 hydraulic. Remember, folks, Dad's 85 years old. So it's not just driving out in the field, it's some detail work too. Kind of see the spot right here is what's going to have to set right down in that little cradle or hanger there. It comes backwards as he lowers it, so it's a little hard to get. There you go, man!
Okay.
That feeder house where all that grain goes right up under here, and this chain pushes it right up under there. All we're doing is going through this area right here, but we had to take the header off just to do that. It's not a real major task. They've got it real easy to take a header off, but this is 20-30 minutes of soybean harvest that could have been happening if we could have just driven right through there. Now, they have a drawbar here. This is one thing my dad has always made on every combine. We don't see on very many. It's homemade. He made that drawbar there so he can pull the header cart. And that keeps the truck from having to pull it in a lot of situations. It's just one less item you have to move independently. But for this short move, and since we've got a lot of people in a truck here, we don't worry about that. It's a little harder to back the combine up to it. They didn't even strap the header down. We're just going to go real gently, and all they're doing again is going through this one area, and we'll put it right back on. Is there anything to lock this bottom lever, or is it just turn loose?
Just turn. It's got a little black handle and flip up.
Okay. Yep.
I want to look under here at this spring and see what it's going to
What's
take
wrong?
to put a new one on.
So we talked about the broken spring while we were in the combine and how it was allowing the right end of the header to stay up. Well, this was the spring that was broken, and he had the new spring, so we're trying to replace it now. We got the old one out. It's actually laying on the ground under there.
Hand off of it.
We got to stretch this one to get it on. The current plan of attack is these ratchet straps. Now, one thing when you're working with a ratchet strap, make sure you always try to get it almost tight before you start ratcheting. The reason is because they only got so much room to ratchet. So Terry sees got it pretty tight here, and then he's ready to go. This one could use on that or something, B40 or something, or a little oil to get it ready to go. Notice how he's using one hand to hold it and get it started, and the other hand to ratchet. That's probably the best way to do that. Hey, you're pulling it.
It's no better. Amazing how no grease works on that, doesn't it?
Oh, boy, we need to go a little side. There you go. Pull them out. You're about home. Yeah, we are home. Now we just need to try from underneath. We're there. There she is.
Piece of cake, ain't it?
Maybe. Very nice approach. They teach you that in college, Terry?
Yeah.
Bridge engineering 101. Now notice here we've got two different varieties of soybeans. It's going to work out fairly well. Looks like he's taken just a row or two of the other variety, but he'll be able to get a little bit probably of a yield check here. See if they're different yields. I don't know whether he cares or not. There goes the load now.
There's a rabbit on it.
Different variety, huh?
Yeah.
You got them kind of separate on your passes here. Are you able to do a yield test that way, or?
Yeah, I'm writing down what the monitor gets.
Okay.
One round over there and then one round here, and then I don't know, there may be a round over there yet. Average here's 54.7.
That's just incredible to see these kind of soybeans on this land. It's not typically some of our better land.
That out across there has been hard to raise anything on. We've fertilized it, we've worked with it. It may be coming around when it looks this year.
It sure is interesting. These beans are totally different color than the other ones.
Yeah. Brown bean. I call it gray beans.
There's a lot of beans in here. 70
Get the
bushels.
straw spread out, you can't tell the difference.
No, you can't.
I think we're going to be able to tell much difference in the last two throughs there to you.
Yeah, it's going to be hard, isn't it? Is it working better with that new spring?
Oh, yeah. It's doing a lot better down over there.
Yeah, I noticed it just, when I was trying to drive, it wasn't going down over there. I'm not sure I understand what the spring was actually springing, but...
I don't know either, but it was sure working on something.
It looks like Randall is planting rye.
Yeah.
He's using that little spreader there on his four-wheeler.
That strip got me 104 bushel, and this strip got me an even 100.
Now, did you didn't actually measure the strips in between, right? What I was meaning is it's kind of hard to compare them to the rows right beside them, right? Or did you measure those too?
I've got them, the brown ones, I got the two on the north side of them.
Oh, I see. So the ones just north of them were 100, and then those were 104 bushels, right? Is that what you said?
104 north of them.
Oh.
And 100 on the brown ones.
Okay, so the brown ones were not quite as good as the gray ones.
I'll get this round and see what these are.
Yield testing is not an exact science at all. I mean, there's always variations in the soil and in the lay of the land and everything. So what you're trying to do here, I guess, is test both sides of your actual sample plot, right?
Yeah.
And if both sides of your sample are better than the sample, then there's some indication that they really did yield better.
Yeah.
Or the sample yielded worse, I guess is the way to say it.
Well, all it takes is one little wet spot where you didn't get a good stand, and that'll turn your average out on one round.
I think Pioneer, didn't you used to say they felt like they had to win 3/4 of the yield trials to consider that they'd had a beat or something like that?
Yeah, I think so.
So it's almost like baseball. I mean, you don't have to try to win 100%. There's no way, because there's always variation. But if you see 75% better than the comparison, then you can think it probably is a better variety or hybrid. Boy, there's a lot of beans going in there, Dad. I'm amazed at how this header takes the beans compared to that old header that had the auger.
The bends are smooth, don't it? Even.
Yeah, you used to have to watch really close to keep from putting a big bunch in and choking up your combine. I know it's dusty looking out there, but it's still fascinating to see the unload on the go. Combine just a little hard to deal with transport. Trying to cheat and not take the header off. Just had about a 1/4 mile to go here. The problem is not so much the oncoming traffic, because there isn't much of that. It's just getting around everything. Look at that ditch he's taking. That's going to be nasty when he gets downwind just a little bit. Well, we got done with this field. It's almost dark. We started out this morning telling you about how you can't harvest beans when the dew's on. So it's really probably about too late. It seems like that head lifts really high, but when he came down out of there, it was only 3 or 4 inches off the ground, wasn't it? Got Randall and Terry under there helping to line him up. Those two trays in there.
I'm good to go down, I think.
Sounds like they've got a broken bolt in here.
Our roll pin's broke. I guess.
The bottom pins haven't come out, and so they've got a broken bolt or something that's not letting the bottom pins come out, so that's what they're working on.
I got this one in, I gotta get the other side. That side, pull this one in, let her down.
Let her down. You're good over here.
I'm good here.
Let her down.
Perfect.
Back her up.
So I'd move the ladder around to the transport position so it's not sticking way out.
There you go.
Well, guys, I think that ends another harvest day.
I don't know.
We didn't have somewhere to go, we'd probably keep at it.
Well, folks, We thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on Tractor Time with Tim.